What's going on, guys, and welcome back to part 8 of my Journey to Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore series. Today I am going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, the final film in the Harry Potter series. But fear not, for we still have 2 movies to talk about. Now, a lot of people consider this film to be the best in the series, and while I can see where they are coming from, I can't say I agree with that assessment. I still stand by what I said at the beginning of this series, that being that I think the first 3 films are the best in the franchise. However, I do think this film is the best since Prisoner of Azkaban. It is still kind of a mess, though, but it's a mess in a good way, in the way that there are a lot of very satisfying elements, and some not-so-satisfying elements. Considering that this is the final Harry Potter film, I figured I may as well mix up the formula a little bit and talk about the things that I don't like, and then go through the things that I do like, ending things off on a positive note. As I said in my previous video, this film has many of the same problems as Deathly Hallows Part 1, but just to a lesser extent. There are a lot of plot lines that the creative team forgot to naturally implement into the story, so they try to explain them away rather quickly. For example, at the beginning of the film, they say that Harry can sense the Horcruxes, and that wasn't something that they had clearly conveyed to the audience in the previous film. There were scenes where Harry was looking at the Horcrux, and they were playing some sort of strange sound effect in the background, so the implication was that that was what was going on. But they hadn't really clearly conveyed that to the audience until this film, so I can understand why to certain people it may feel like that came a little bit out of the blue. They also try to explain away the whole plot line with the two-way mirror and Harry having a shard of it in his boot, but it doesn't change the fact that they did not set up that plot line, so in the context of this film, it just feels rather lazy. I also really don't like how they cut out the entire backstory surrounding the Dumbledore family and Ariana. They briefly talk about her in the movie, but they don't elaborate on the fact that Albus's lust for power was what brought about her death. You may say it's a movie. They have to cut out certain things to benefit the pacing. But these films have proven time and time again that they can convey exposition in a very creative manner. The Tale of the Three Brothers scene in the prior film proves this. Hell, the Snape's memories scene later in this same movie proves this. I don't understand how they couldn't find a way to fit this into the movie, considering the fact that it's the shortest in the franchise. I do have hope that they will elaborate on this more in The Secrets of Dumbledore, considering, well, the name, but also the fact that Albus briefly referenced Ariana in The Crimes of Grindelwald.
In my case, it was my sister.
Did you love her?
Not as well as I should have done.
I also find the whole dead bodies on the floor scene to feel rather lazy. Like, the creative team couldn't find a way to show their deaths on screen, so they just show us briefly who died and move on from that. I don't remember Remus and Tonk's deaths being shown in the book, but I vividly remember Fred's death being shown in the book, as he has finally accepted his brother Percy back into his family moments before a wall explodes behind him, killing him. But the films neglected the entire Percy subplot, so I suppose that wouldn't have any emotional resonance even if it was shown on screen. I've just never liked that scene. They're just like, here's who died. Moving on. This film is mostly action, and while there's nothing wrong with that, some of the staging decisions during the action scenes kind of confuse me a little bit. For example, the duel between Molly Weasley and Bellatrix Lestrange. Look, I love that scene as much as the next guy, but the staging during it is kind of questionable to me. In the book, Harry walks in and sees Ginny dueling Bellatrix. When Ginny is nearly hit by a killing curse, he begins to charge to her aid, but before he can do anything, Molly comes in and claims that Bellatrix is hers and hers alone. But in the film, Ginny's just dueling Bellatrix, and the rest of her family is standing behind her, not doing anything, until she nearly gets killed, and then Molly decides to slowly walk up and confront Bellatrix. This made sense in the book because she was on the other side of the room, but in the film, she was just standing there not doing anything until this exact moment. David Yates, you couldn't have directed that any better, dude? This is when I begin to nitpick a little bit, but these were problems that were not present in the book and that the film created for itself. For example, Harry goes into the Forbidden Forest expecting Voldemort to kill him because at this point he knows that he's a Horcrux and needs to be destroyed. The Horcrux that was a part of Harry was destroyed by Avada Kedavra, the killing curse. But later in the film, when Ron and Hermione are being pursued by Nagini, in one last-ditch attempt to stop her, Ron casts Avada Kedavra, and it doesn't work. By this film's logic, that should have worked, because Avada Kedavra destroyed the Horcrux that was within Harry. This wasn't in the book. In the book, Neville charged straight out and cut Nagini's head off. There was no time for her to chase Ron and Hermione around the castle for a couple minutes. It's a weird, small detail, but it really did pull me out of the film on this viewing. I also far prefer Harry and Voldemort's final duel in the book, as they are surrounded by everyone in Hogwarts. There's a build-up of anticipation, and during their duel, Harry is explaining all of the circumstances that have led up to this moment, and how the Elder Wand truly responds to him. But in the film, they're just fighting each other in an empty courtyard, there's no one there, and Harry isn't explaining all the circumstances that have led up to how he's going to win this duel. So they just write in him explaining that to Ron and Hermione at the end of the movie, because he didn't explain it in that scene. Once again, it's a small detail, but it feels lazy to me. And similar to Goblet of Fire, this film contains several cringy and/or memeable moments. Allow me to show you a few of them.
Well done.
That's about all I have to say negatively about this film. The rest of it is a mostly satisfactory conclusion to the series. One of the things I really like about it is how it takes elements that these films created independent from the books and pays them off in a fun way. For example, Seamus Finnegan blowing things up in his face all the time is something that these films made up. That wasn't in the book series, and they bring it to its logical extreme in this film, with him being the one to plant the explosives to blow up the bridge to Hogwarts. That's a fun way to pay off something these films made up on their own. Also, Neville and Luna ending up together. Those are two characters who have a fun dynamic and who I think make for a good pair. Once again, something that wasn't present in the books. The film is also very well paced, despite being the shortest in the franchise. The entire opening sequence as the characters break into Gringotts is very exciting, and from that point on, the film maintains a solid pace. The Battle of Hogwarts is very well executed, with a pretty creative long take as the camera pans across the landscape up through the window and you see all these individual characters dueling each other. It's a very productive way of showing the expansiveness of the battle. And the film is really just designed to show you a lot of very satisfying moments. I'll share a few of my favorites with you.
Potter. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Professor.
Flying.
There are even certain elements that are executed better than in the book, and I don't typically say that in these videos, but I really like that Harry destroys the Elder Wand at the end of this film. From what I remember in the book, he uses it to repair his own wand and then leaves it on Dumbledore's desk, but I love that he makes the mature decision of destroying it, as to not allow anyone else in the future to become tempted by its power. I also think Neville's character growth is fantastic as he steps up to Voldemort and gives that incredibly inspiring speech, which wasn't in the book. In the book, he runs out, chops Nagini's head off, and that's that. But in the film, they give him this fantastic speech, which proves that he is the embodiment of courage, bravery, and everything the Gryffindor house stands for. I have seen some people complaining about his character, saying that he was just used as the buffoon character trope until the last minute when he's meant to be the second coming of Jesus, but I never saw it that way. There are many moments over the course of the series where he proves his bravery. Hell, at the end of Philosopher's Stone, he's awarded 10 points for standing up to his friends. I think his character growth is incredible, as he starts out as this young, scared boy and in the end becomes a hero, and the deciding factor in our characters triumphing over the villains. There are plenty more good and bad things to be said about this film, but I, strangely enough, don't have that much more to say about it. As I said, it's a solid conclusion to the Harry Potter series and a very entertaining film, but it's essentially just a giant action scene. At the end of the day, do I think the Harry Potter films are good? Heck yeah, they're very well made and entertaining, as well as being consistently good. Compared to a lot of other book-to-screen adaptations like the Percy Jackson films or The Golden Compass from 2007, they stand out. And I mean no offense to the cast and people who worked on these films, they very obviously took a tremendous amount of effort, but when people say they are the greatest book adaptations of all time, that's when I put my foot down, because I feel like in order for something to be a great book adaptation, it should not only add to the source material, but also improve upon it. A prime example of that, in my opinion, are the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films. Those films add so much to the source material, and in some ways improve upon it. But the times when the Harry Potter films improve upon the source material are so few and far between, and I don't feel like they quite live up to the incredible story that was told in the book series. But you guys, please let me know. What are your thoughts on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you think of my assessment of the Harry Potter film series overall? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.